Hey, do you go to Thom Serafin's Christmas party?
I went this year.
Yeah, it's a great party.
Best party ever.
It's become a legendary Chicago party.
Yeah. You are in.
No, he's invited me year after year, but it's too late. It starts at like 6 or 7 o'clock.
I was going to say it starts at 6.
Thom Serafin joins us now.
McGuire's.
It's been a long time, my friend. How are you?
Okay, good. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey,
it's
Tom.
great to talk with you.
Nice to talk to you.
Hi,
It's been
really-
forever. So listen, I just want to apologize. I never make your party because you have it in the middle of the night. What's that thing start, like at 7 o'clock?
No, it starts at like 6.
Well, actually, it starts at 5 and goes to about 9 o'clock.
Well, it's
And,
crazy. There's
same
nothing,
day.
your mother told you this. There's nothing good that happens after 7 o'clock.
My dad used to tell me that about midnight.
No, I will make one of your parties. It would be great, though, if you could start them at noon.
Well, maybe we'll do that next year just to make sure you're there.
Right.
Tom's
There
doing
you
a
go,
brand
Tom.
new.
Good.
Tom's doing a brand new podcast called The Serafin Power Poll. Explain what this is.
Well, we've been doing a power poll for a little bit more than a year now, and it's not a scientific poll, but it's a group of Chicagoans that are CEOs, elected public officials, people that are involved in how the city is managed and how the city works. And we poll them every month and ask them questions about what's going on in the city, what's going to happen in the future. It's a little sneak peek into how people are managing and looking out for the city and what we anticipate might be happening 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road. So it's a kind of really an interesting thing. And the more I get into it, the more fascinating it is to talk to people that make the decisions and get an insight into what those decisions are going to look like before they happen.
So you are a year in now. I would assume that the results you're seeing, and this is, all discussed on the podcast. We'll tell you how to get it. But you see trends, and you can see trends that are developing. Are you surprised by what you see?
Well, yes, I am. But there's a consistency. There's the group of people here really want the city to succeed, and really are frustrated at the lack of what we see today as leadership in the city and the state. For example, we asked people about the migrant crisis in the January 24, the poll we released last week. We asked them what should happen here in the city. We talk about getting more people involved. We talk about getting religious organizations and others. That was the last issue that people suggested. The first issue, they said, the Illinois congressional delegation should work more diligently with the White House and in Washington to solve the problem. They understand it's a federal issue. We'll never solve this problem unless the federal government gets off their duff and gets the job done. And that's the power pollers talking.
Is the migrant crisis the number one issue according to the voters that you surveyed, Tom, right now in the city?
That and the economy, which is interesting. But the migrant crisis, they think that the congressional delegation, we have 17 congressmen, 14 are Democrat, 3 are Republican, and the governor's office and the 2 U.S. senators should provide some shelter and permanent understanding in Washington to solve the problem. That's it, Andrea. You're absolutely right.
One of the things I like about Thom Serafin is he's a legitimate Republican, and he believes in the conservative values that many of you believe in: limited federal government, a strong defense, individualism, traditionalism, limited federal government, all of those things. How have we strayed so far from that and made it such a reality TV show?
Well, the middle is gone in the country, and I that's what the people are trying to do with Nikki Haley right now. She represents what used to be the middle, the George Bushes in the world, the middle of the Republican Party, the moderates, where we had Jim Edgar and others here in Illinois. That is disappearing, and now you've got the far left and the far right that kind of monopolize the political debate in the world today, and it's squeezed out the middle. And Nikki Haley's candidacy is trying to force that middle wide open again. It's a tough road right now. It's a very tough road.
But it all comes down to turnout, because the middle exists. Right. We just talk about the silent majority. It's the silent majority of the middle, and we show up on Election Day. But between now and Election Day, nobody's talking about them. And then you're going to have the 2 ancient candidates and a rematch. And this ain't exactly Ali Frazier in their prime.
No, it isn't. It's their institutionalized look. Actually, But you're absolutely right. I saw a poll the other day. 43% of the country consider themselves independents, unaffiliated, as they call themselves in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, you have to register as a Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated to vote tomorrow, and that number is 360-some thousand have registered as unaffiliated. 262 something Republican and 267 Democrat, 267,000 Democrats. So the unaffiliated are being petitioned by both sides, and Nikki Haley thinks she has an edge there. And if she wins or she gets close, it's because of the moderate, unaffiliated, independent voters that may put her close to Donald Trump or over. But the latest polls, right now are she's separated by Donald Trump by about 15 points, so she's got a ways to go. But guys like Governor Christie, from New Jersey, who dropped out of the race a couple of weeks ago, he's considered a moderate, and he hopes to endorse her sometime tomorrow. But with DeSantis getting out of the race, most of his votes will go to Donald Trump, which gives him a real good push right now. And Nikki Haley's got a lot of road to make up, but she currently represents that middle ground that you're talking about.
I wish we would just get rid of selecting a party when we're voting in the primary. In the
primary system itself is a disaster.
Oh my God! Because right now, look at Illinois voters right now. So if you declare for Republican, you could vote for president. If you declare for Democrat, you could vote for state's attorney, which is what's going to happen right now in March. Do you anticipate a high voter turnout? And I say that when I say high, Tom, I mean into double digits. I mean, because the last showing was 14 or 15%.
Right. Well, it was very low. In the Chicago's election for city, 60% of the city did not vote for the mayor's race, which is a huge number, unfortunately. But that's a good question that you just asked, because we asked that question of the power pollers. Do you expect voter turnout to be higher or lower in this race? Because it's such an important race to fill the seat currently held by Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Over 50% of the pollers said there would be a lower turnout because interest is usually down without a contest for mayor or governor. Less than 30% said they expected a number of voters to be higher because of the concerns about crime, because it's all about crime, the state's attorney's office. So
it
doesn't look good.
We live in a fantasy world that problems will be fixed by people that we choose on a presidential election day. The president's powers are massive. They're also limited. Mm-hmm. And the things that affect your life more directly happen at your school board, with your mayor, with your town council, with whoever represents you in Springfield, and with your governor, long before anything from Washington is going to impact you directly. Sure, you have taxes, you have all of those issues, but the economy and all the things that instantly affect you are close to you. And yet we live in this fantasy world that, we're going to pick somebody for president that we like, or somebody we heard about, or I've seen enough Facebook posts that I like this person, or I don't like that person. It's an idiotic way to go about it. So I'm reluctant to let people off the hook. Get off your ass and go vote, people.
That's it. I worked for Alan Dixon for a long time in Washington, and he was their U.S. Senator from Illinois. And he used to remind me that he would call me Tommy. He said, Tommy, all politics is local, and the reason I won so many elections in my day is that you have to work with the local folks. You have to be home. You can't be here in D.C. When I worked for Ross Stankowski, he and Henry Hyde and Congressman Lipinski would get in their little car and drive home every Friday night and then drive back to Washington, D.C. on Monday. But there you had a Republican and a couple of Democrats
in
the same car for 6, 8, 10 hours talking to each other. Mm-hmm. And today you don't do that anymore. In fact, sometimes it's forbidden to do that. So you have to get back together to talk to each other, to socialize with each other. You just need that. It's very, very important to get to know each other personally in order to go along and work together. I mean, if you didn't get along and work together, how would you be able to get along socially together?
You may have struck on the ultimate solution. Let's find a Yugo. They've got to exist still somewhere. I know they don't make them anywhere. And let's shove 2 members of Congress in there, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, in a leadership position, and let's see if we can move the ball.
Yeah, well, that's a very good idea. You have to be able to get together. In the old days in D.C., we had congressional group. We would get together every 2 weeks, I think it was, for breakfast. All the Illinois delegation,
Right.
Republican, Democrat, and U.S. senators, and we would have a breakfast. What was good for Illinois, we would all work on. That stopped, and it's been gone since the days of Bush and Clinton when they got elected. They don't do that anymore. How can you work that way if you're not talking to each other?
It's amazing to me. No, it's amazing to me. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. What I care about is if you care about the people that elected you. It's not about you keeping a job. It's about you doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
But you
right. If you do the job, you keep the job.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Well said.
Thom Serafin.
Well said.
Subscribe, rate, review. Get the podcast, I assume, everywhere podcasts are available?
That's right, sir. Apple and everywhere else. It's called the Power Pole Podcast, and hopefully, if you're interested in being part of it, just let me know, and we'll sign you up at the Power Pole Podcast.
That's awesome.
All right, how do people get a hold of you to let you know their views?
Oh, Serafin.com, Serafin.com. And I'll hear all about it.
All right, well, let's get that party moved to noon.
Yeah. Oh, you got it.
Could have like the kids' table
Thom.
party that I'll show up in. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Thom.
you being on.
Thom is the best. And you know what I like
He's
about
a
this?
legitimate Republican.
You know what I love about this podcast? It asks the voters.
Yeah.
This is literally asking people, which I always say, anytime there's an issue,
Creates conversation.
ask the voters.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have 10
you're radical.
referenda
You're radical like
on
that.
the ballot. Ask the voters what they want.
Yeah, no, you've always been off the deep end on things like that, where you want the public to control their own fate.
Try to be too fair.